Hello and welcome to the Empower Yourself Summit. My name is Pamela McAlexander and I will be your host. Today I have a lovely young woman with me as part of this interview series by the name of Amber Ludwig. And Amber has her own multi-six-figure company by the name of NGNG Enterprises, which stands for No Guts, No Glory. I really loved that name of her company. She is an online business mentor who supports authors, speakers, and coaches. She focuses on establishing a powerful, integrated online presence that gets results and empowers them to make a difference in their industry. And she really focuses on the message they want to share with the world, and she can support them in a number of ways. I want to introduce to you Miss Amber Ludwig.
Thank you so much for having me, Pam. And I have to say that I love this topic, especially for online entrepreneurs. I mean, we constantly have to be in this place of empowering ourselves and getting outside of our fear and our comfort zone to push through and impact the world. So I love what you're doing, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Thank you so much. Well, I want to be able to start our summit because, of course, our focus is on, eliminating fear and conquering fear and eliminating self-doubt. Can you be vulnerable for a minute and let us know sometime in your life, and maybe there were multiple times, where you actually struggled with fear and self-doubt, what you did to overcome them, and how you were on the path that you ended up on today, which is, owning this enterprise and being the successful entrepreneur that you are?
Happy to get vulnerable. I'm all about authenticity and transparency, so that's right up my alley. But, I wouldn't even say that I had just a few different examples. Mine was sort of one big example that happened in most of my life, actually. When I was really, really young, I kind of always felt like I was in my big sister's shadow. She was the perfect star child, and she got straight A's, and everybody liked her, and she kept her room clean, and she was beautiful, and she was just good at everything. And for me, I just was more of an observer. I'm not a big be in the limelight, flashy person. And because of that, I kind of took a backseat role in the family, and I didn't get as good of grades, and I wasn't well liked, and I felt like a pest, and my room was always a mess, and I felt like I was always getting in trouble somehow, just figuring out life. But as I grew older, that really started to affect me emotionally. And instead of expressing that to my family, or asking for support, I kind of started caving inward. And I just started really suffering really badly. And when I went into middle school, I was at a small private school, and private schools, great education, but it's extremely challenging socially because you're contained in a small group of people, and there's a lot of rumors and judgment, and I just got sucked right into that. And then I kind of started down this road of just wanting to feel accepted and well liked. And this desperation came, this loneliness and suffering. I mean, I would come home from school and just cry my eyes out, lock myself in my room. And it just kind of continued into high school. And by that time, I was really starting to hang out with some not so great people because that's all I felt like I was good enough for. And looking back on that now, I'm sure a lot of people can relate how we put ourselves in situations that we know are so far below what we're worth, but we just don't feel good enough, and we can't step forward into confidence or anything like that to really live, in our fullest power. So when I was 16, a series of events had to happen where I hit my rock bottom moment. And it was a very scary, dark, lonely moment in my life. And basically what happened is I found myself at the end of this series of events looking up at the stars at night. And I was just crying, and I was just so lost. And I looked up into the night sky and I thought, is this my life? Is this who I'm going to be? And I can feel that emotion coming up right now because it terrified me to face myself like that. I mean, anytime humans have a really hard time looking inward like that and just facing that truth. But I had to. I had no other place to go. And in that moment, I just kind of went to bed that night and, moved forward in my life. But what happened was that questioning became so powerful for me. And I decided that, no, that's not who I'm supposed to be. That's not my life. 16 years old. So I didn't tell anybody. I didn't talk to my parents about it or my sister or any friends. I just started changing my life. And day by day, decision by decision, step by step, I kept asking myself that question, who do I want to be? And so I went in for office hours. I improved my grades. I graduated with honors. I graduated with friends. I was a happy person. I felt fulfilled. And it wasn't like I was, searching and grasping for happiness. I felt happy inside, which made my outside reality a million times better than it would have been if I was just grasping at things to make me happy and get me fulfilled. And it just kind of kept improving from there. I mean, I like Hal Elrod, who's also in this summit, I sold Cutco cutlery, so high-end kitchen knives. And that job really boosted me and propelled me forward, especially in entrepreneurship. Because even at that point, when I was about 18 years old, I still had a lot of doubt. I had a lot of fears. Some confidence, but I was really nervous to speak in front of people, all of the natural things that we have to face in life. And that job really took the time to teach me how to feel comfortable speaking, how to present myself, and how to hone my business skills. And that's ultimately what brought me out to Denver from Arizona. And I got a job promotion to help run the division for Cutco here in the Rocky Mountain area. And at that time, now I'm like 23 years old, and yet I'm running 4 states and 35 receptionists. I'm speaking in front of crowds of 300 people. I'm teaching new district managers how to go out and open up their own office and training at a very high level and recruiting. I mean, it was just an incredible experience. And I sort of fell into the online world, frankly, because I got about as far as I could go in Cutco before I felt like it was no longer a challenge for me. And now I've really conditioned myself in life to always take challenges head on and just be the best person I can be. So I sort of left Cutco with plenty of notice and fell into the online world and grew this incredible business. And now we have a team of 9. We have clients all around the world, and we help people get their message out to the world and impact the world, and it's the most fulfilling work. I look at my life today, and I'll just wrap up with this, but I look at my life today, Pam, and I just can't believe how lucky I am. That's the first thought that comes in is, how did I, just this morning I was thinking, I'm getting married in a couple of months, I'll be starting a family later this year, and I've got this incredible business and the most amazing people around me, and I'm healthy and I'm happy, and I think, how could I be one of the luckiest people in the whole world? But then I also then think back to everything that it took for me to get here, changing my mindset, focusing on the positive and walking through fear, even though it scares the daylights out of me, I'm human. So it's like all of these things, step by step, you get to this place in your life where you are exactly who you want to be, and it's the most incredible feeling in the world.
Now, let me ask you this, and congratulations on the engagement. I wish you much luck down that path with starting a family, too.
Thank you.
As far as when you're dealing with where you just take charge now, how do you go from that person that was in everybody's shadow to that person that's just out there? How do you do that?
I love that book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Yeah. And that sums up the whole book. I didn't even have to finish the book because I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. The reality is that fear will never go away, ever. In your entire life, it's completely impossible. So if it's always going to be here, then how can we create a strategy to manage that fear so it doesn't hold us back from doing our work on this planet and being our best selves? So basically, you have to feel the fear and do it anyway. What I do is, first of all, you have to have awareness that you're in fear. I could be fearful of this video right now, ooh, I'm so exposed, and people saw me choke up and when I was talking about me being a 16-year-old, and that really bothers some people to show that kind of emotion. I wasn't fearful of it, but I'm just giving you an example.
Sure.
That if I were feeling fear in that moment, I have to be aware that I'm feeling fear, because if you are not aware of it and if you don't stop it right from the beginning, that fear will grow and grow and grow until you're literally frozen and paralyzed in that fear. And it's 10 times harder to move through the fear when it's that intense, right? But in the beginning, it's a little itty bitty fear, and you can squash that and move through it much easier. So I've really, like a muscle, I've honed in on that awareness. From there, I just use logic. And I think, is this the hardest thing I've ever done? No. Okay, so why am I making such a big deal out of it? Okay, that seems a little silly. I think I can handle talking into a camera to Pam, you know.
Right.
So I think you have to approach it with some sense of logic. And then the next step is the only way through it is through it, right? So what I'll do is I'll make a quick little to-do list or some action step, you know, the first step, second step, third step, and I'll immediately try to take action on whatever it is that I'm afraid of. So if I'm afraid of launching a product or doing a live webinar, then what are the next few small steps that I need to take in order to do that webinar or launch that product? And if I can just take action on the first one, it'll build my confidence. And then I take the next step, which builds my confidence. So it's kind of this step-by-step process that I personally go through to manage that fear, because it's always going to be there. Don't feel bad that you have fear, but just learn to kind of control it just like a muscle. And then anytime I have fear showing up in my life, Pam, I just keep going through that process and remembering it and my company name, No Guts, No Glory. And I just freaking do it because I don't want to be stuck in my life. You know, you only have one life as far as we know. So I want to maximize it.
That's awesome. I appreciate that advice because that is wonderful advice.
Thank you.
And I assume this had something to do with the No Guts, No Glory name for the company, yes?
Yeah, you know, when I was a kid, my mom, who's seriously the most incredible woman ever, we're very, very close, and my mom used to say that to me as a kid all the time. No guts, no glory, no guts, no glory. So in 2007, I was really trying to think of a company name, and, you know, pressure. I mean, there's so many options. How do you pick one? And it was so simple. I remembered my mom saying, no guts, no glory, and boom, that was it. There was no other option. And my clients love that name. I mean, it's not new. I didn't invent that, but it's something to live by, and it helps you through those challenging times for sure.
Well, and like I said, it gives you that confidence level working with somebody who would name their company that. You know, it's like, I'm in it with you. I'm going to help you get there.
Heck yeah, and I do.
I love that. I love that. So do you come across a lot of clients then when you're dealing with authors, speakers, coaches? Do you come across a lot of them that struggle with this fear and self-doubt?
Everybody does. I mean, and that's the thing. You don't beat yourself up about it. Everybody comes across that, right? But again, I try to just tell them that it's okay. Like, first of all, it's okay if you're feeling like this. But do you want to be a prisoner in your own life? I mean, do you really want to be held back? Do you want to feel small? Do you want to feel insecure? Do you want to feel nervous? Do you want to feel less than? Do you want to feel, I mean, really think about that for a minute. Why would anybody want to put themselves through that torture? So if you don't want to feel like that, then you realize that the only other option is just to, you know, breathe into it and take a step forward. Just, it can be the smallest step, but again, it really builds your confidence. But of course, I mean, starting a business is one of the scariest things in the whole world. What if I don't make it? What if I do make it? I mean, people are afraid of failure and success. There's so much working against you that it's like I said, it's almost paralyzing. But the way that I show up in my business is saying, hey, I'm no better than you. I'm just like you. It's just that I started before you did. That's the only difference between you and me. But hey, if you like what I'm doing, then come on board, because my training style is that I get rid of all the fluff that's out there and I give you the exact steps on what you need to do to get results, because I don't want to waste your time and I don't want to waste my time. And I'm not out just to get your money or anything like that. I'm out to support you. And so I think that really comes across, and the people that I work with just feel so comfortable working with me, and then right off the bat they're getting results because the training actually works. So it's really fulfilling work.
Wonderful. Now you have some things in the works right now that are going on. Yes?
I always have things in the works, Pam. But I would say the thing that I'm most excited about, and that's really part of my legacy, I would say, is in May, I just launched, it's called the Authentic Leader Academy. So it's authenticleaderacademy.com. And this was not at all in my business plan. I've got to tell you, when I did this full day planning session in December about what I was going to launch this year, the programs, the products, the services, blah, blah, blah. This was not in my plans at all. But what happened is I regularly survey my audience because I want to know what they want out of me. And they kept talking about how they want more strategy and how-to tutorials from me. So I had this idea to create a membership website where it's a one-time fee and you get lifetime access to everything moving forward. And essentially, contained in that website would be a bunch of videos, like a video library, all from me, not from other experts. And there would be two types of videos. One would be a face-to-cam, just like this, where I'm walking you through a strategy, such as how to start your podcast, or how to create video, or how to launch a webinar. You know, so you're getting all of the strategy in the big picture, but then I do a screencast video with Camtasia that is recording my screen, and I walk through step by step by step how to execute that strategy. So how do you start a webinar with Google Hangouts? You click here and you do this and you do that. So anyway, I created this humongous library for everything I could think of and how to build your business online, and I'm filling it with videos. And so I asked my audience, this is going to be a tremendous amount of work for me, and this is not at all what I was planning. So tell me if you're seriously interested in this, and then I'll do it. But if you're only half in, then I'm not going to spend my time on it. Well, the results were unanimous. Everybody said I would give anything for access to a site like this. So I stopped everything. I launched the website in May. The results have blown my mind, far exceeded my expectations. We have live free webinars every single month. In fact, for all of the people watching this interview, I'm going to give you access to our next webinar. We have one in July and one in August. And it's a 90-minute webinar where we're going to talk to you about the Academy, but that's a very small part of the webinar. It's actually more of a live Q&A, and I also give you training on the 9 areas you must focus on if you want to build your online business. So we've gotten great results with the webinar, and the Academy members are loving it, and that's, I'd say, the project I'm most excited about right now. It's my baby.
Awesome. Now, do you ever go through anything like, for example, even though you got your act together, you've had this business going for this long, do you still run into situations where you ever struggle with fear or self-doubt?
Constantly. I mean, I would say it's rare that a day goes by when I don't experience fear or doubt.
Okay.
And that's a pretty big statement to make, but it's true. I mean, and I'm human just like everybody else. And so it's natural to feel those things. But again, I think that you've probably seen those Facebook posts flying around that says, when you're outside of your comfort zone, that's when life begins. I mean, there's all kinds of phrases like that, but it's true. If you get stuck inside of your comfort zone, yeah, it's comfortable and we want to be safe and secure and cozy, but life is all about change. It's not about comfort and routine. I mean, so if you want to make the most out of this life, and unfortunately not everybody does, but if you want to make the most out of this life, you have to be very aware of living inside of your comfort zone. And when you start to get too comfortable, it's time to change something. It's time to change directions. Read more books or try a different exercise or whatever it is. But I think that that's how we really appreciate life. We make the most out of our lives, and that's what ultimately brings happiness. The comfort zone might bring a little security, but it certainly does not bring happiness, I found. So whether it's in my business, Pam, when Heck yeah, when I'm launching something, I'm completely nervous, hoping that people see what I see in it. Or, anytime that I'm exposing myself, I hope that people get something out of this interview. Or even in my personal life, it's natural for me to have nervousness or fear when it comes to even thinking about starting a family, because it is a complete change and it's a forever change. There's no going back on that change. And while I'm so excited, I know it's my life's purpose to have kids, it's natural for me to think about these things because we all fear change. Um, but again, I think that it just comes back to managing that mindset, not letting that fear grow into an unhealthy place, but just recognizing that your feelings are valid. That's an important part. You can't ignore that they're there, but recognizing it's valid, but then looking at it from the logical point and taking action and just trying to feel more comfortable with that process.
So when you took that big step, or was it baby steps when you decided to start your own business?
I would say probably it was felt more to me like baby steps. It was probably a huge step, but to me, I tried to set it up in a way that was the least amount of risk. So that's why it didn't feel so scary to me. And what I mean by that is I started by creating a website and blogging like crazy. I knew that it was going to take at least 100 blog posts for me to even get on the map and to really engage with Google and social media and start building this thing. Well, that could take me a year, and I didn't want to waste a year before I started to monetize. So what I did is I strategically aligned with 2 other companies that fed me work throughout that year. And I worked with this publishing company out in California that I still work with today, and then a local kind of web development company here in Denver. And I just had them feed me their clients, and I serviced their clients under my company. And that brought in that consistent income to where I didn't have to freak out about, oh my gosh, am I going to get another client, or what's going to happen? Am I going to be okay? And I didn't have to take huge risks because I was safe monetarily, right? But I would still say that anytime you're starting a business, it's a huge risk because most businesses fail. And this was the first one I had ever run. I didn't go to business school. I really just kind of figured it out as I went, but just trusted in my abilities. That also, if I am really rooted in giving value to others, that comes back to me karmically speaking, right? I mean, I will get business if I really give of myself. I'll get that in return. And that's been my philosophy. And we've grown about 40% on average every single year I've been in business. I've never flatlined or gone down. It's always been growth.
So in starting your own business, then it was just you. And then
Oh yeah.
as you got busier, that's when you expanded on your business and brought in employees or utilized staff to handle the other things.
Yeah, exactly. My first team member was a programmer and a designer because we were building websites. And then I expanded to a second designer, and then I expanded to a second programmer, and then a virtual assistant, another programmer, another designer, and then a copywriter and a search engine optimization person, and another copywriter, and then another assistant. It just kept growing. Now we have, like I said, a team of 9 that supports our clients and supports my business growth. And they're like family to me. We don't have turnover. People don't quit. I don't fire them. They're family. I mean, we all work really hard together toward that common vision. And I mean, I have to be honest, Pam, that I keep hearing how hard business is, but I think that with the right mentality, it's felt really not that hard for me. I've never been in a place of like total panic and stress and where am I, how am I going to pull this off? I've never really experienced that, just because I think of my mindset and that belief that I'm gonna pull it off and everything's gonna be fine and I'm gonna grow and I'm gonna impact people and it's gonna work. So
Now, were you ever in a situation, especially when you started hiring people, where it's like, okay, the money's not there in order to bring on a staff, but I need them. So how do you deal with that kind of fear? Because normally again, people like that comfort zone, and they think, well, I need the money to get it started, and yet what? Let's get uncomfortable for a minute, and you need to take the step without the money?
It's a great question. There were absolutely some scary moments in my life financially, probably more than I could even count, even before, I was in business. That moment when you walk up and you're in the grocery store and you're just praying that it's under the amount of balance you have in your checking account, even those moments, I've so been there. And when you're starting a team, it's kind of the same thing. And I had put extra pressure on myself because with our services, our done-for-you services, I offer payment plans. So let's say that somebody wanted to get a brand new custom design website that was thousands of dollars. Well, I would allow them to pay me like $300-400 a month for a year to pay that off, which means that I had the bulk of that upfront cost to pay my team, because we would launch a website inside of 3 weeks, and then I'd have to wait almost that entire year to get paid back in full. That was very risky, but my mind was thinking, that's how I'm going to get more clients. The more affordable I make it, then the more clients I'm going to get. So there was definitely this balancing act in the beginning. And you make sacrifices. Maybe you don't go to as many movies, or, maybe you don't buy all the things you want to buy. And that's okay, because you're working toward a long-term goal. For me, it was worth a little bit of sacrifice up front to grow this kind of a business. And then the trick was not only fronting all of those projects and paying the team on time, but then building up a cash flow, basically. So fortunately, I never had a time where I never bounced a check. I never missed a payment. Everything always worked out because I was just every day looking at the numbers and planning ahead of time and making sure that everything was going to be okay, and it was. But the last thing that I'll say is, a lot of people, like you mentioned, think I need to have all this money saved before I can hire a team. And this was a really interesting mindset shift that I had to go through, especially when I hired 2 virtual assistants years ago, and I was thinking, but I don't have the money. But the reality is if I try to calculate the value of my time, let's say back then, my hourly rate, what I could generate inside of an hour, was $100 an hour. Well, let's say that my virtual assistant is $15 an hour. That means that if I delegate the work to her that anybody could do, sending out my emails or whatever it is, admin related tasks, that saves me an hour where I could go out and generate income for my business. And so essentially, if I'm paying her $15 an hour, then I'm making $85 an hour for every hour that I work. And that's pretty awesome. So it's a stretch to think about it that way, but that's how you have to think about it. The money is there because it frees you up to go focus on money-making activities. Now, the challenge is you might not want to focus on money-making activities because you're afraid of selling, or you don't feel like it's the right thing to do, or whatever issues we have. But again, the way that I've solved that is by offering as much value as I can, and then people always think that what I'm offering them is so much more worth than whatever little thing that they paid. Even if it was a big investment they just paid, they know the value is so much more. So that's a whole other discussion, but you really do need to have that focus on money-making activities so that you can hire a team and then scale up from there.
Awesome. Well, this has all been really great advice. I just have one last question for you before we finish up with our interview here. And that would be, if you had one piece of advice, guidance, wisdom that you would provide to our listeners that would help them start that journey to empowering themselves, what would it be?
Honestly, I'm going to go back to something I said earlier instead of giving a new tip, because I think it's so valuable that it deserves to be repeated again. I really do think it comes down to deciding who you want to be. Because when you look at who do I really want to be, who would I be proud of to be, then that basically sets the stage for any decision that you could be making. For example, let's say that you're lazy and decide that you want to spend 5 hours a day watching TV. Ask yourself, is that who I really want to be? Am I proud of that person? Or let's say that you don't work out and You have issues around your physical body and your health. Well, ask yourself when you're wheezing up those stairs or just walking, is this who I really want to be? Is this the person that I'm proud of? And, if you want to live in happiness, if you want to live a life that you love, then it comes from within. And that's why I love Hal Elrod so much. And I talk about him all the time on every interview that I do, because he's all about personal development. And the more you focus on you, the more your outer world just changes in ways that you can't even believe. And you'll just feel like the luckiest person in the whole world. So I think it starts with, who do I want to be? How do I want to show up in the world? And let that dictate your decisions moving forward.
Wonderful advice. Thank you. Okay, so at the bottom of our email here is going to be a link to Amber's website directly. And so if you want to check her out, find out more information and detail about her, I encourage you to visit her site. She has an amazing free gift that she's offering for everyone who participated on this summit. And I kept going, are you sure you don't want to just do one of those? I mean, so I'm going to tell you guys, she is really throwing some killer stuff out here for you. So I highly recommend you take advantage of it. But Amber, if you wouldn't mind sharing both your email address and the amazing gifts, because I'm not going to say one because it's not one, that you have for our listeners today.
It's all about giving value, right? I feel like a broken record. So what I decided to give away to all of you watching is, number one, access to an upcoming webinar that I mentioned. Again, it's 90 minutes. You can come on and ask me any question that you want to about how to build your business online. I'm going to answer all of those questions live and talk you through how to build your business online using these 9 must-have focus areas. So that's a 90-minute webinar coming up in July, and there's another one in August if you can't make the July date. The second gift is a 33-page ebook that I wrote that I'm very passionate about, and I called it the 7 Deadliest Mistakes You're Making on Social Media. Most people don't have a clue what social media is or how to leverage it to build their business or how to use it to build relationships. So this ebook is jam-packed with value to teach you exactly how to do that. And the third bonus I'm going to give away is a complimentary 1-hour one-on-one strategy session with me. So if you are an author, speaker, coach, entrepreneur, and you're really serious about wanting to build your business online, then we're going to sit down on the phone together and we're going to talk through where you're at, where you want to be, and make a concrete plan for how to get there, to remove all that guesswork and worry out of your mind so you can just focus on impacting people with your message. So that's what I'm going to give away.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I want to thank you again. Like I said, it has been a pleasure talking with you today. And I hope that everyone listening can walk away from this with as much information as I have gained from talking with you. Again, I just want to let everybody know this is Amber Ludwig, and check out the bottom of the email here and you'll be able to access her website and her wonderful free gifts. And thank you again for participating.
Thanks for the opportunity.